everybody, I'm Sarah Trevelyan, owner and director of Sarah Loves to Sew and the Beginner Sewing Boxes. I'm here today to show you how to make one of these cosy fleece hats. So this is the project that my members of the Beginner Sewing Boxes are receiving this month, and I'm here to show you the tutorial on how to make it. So if you don't know, Sarah Loves to Sew is a company I set up a couple of years ago, and the Beginner Sewing Boxes are on my website, sarahlovestosew.com. It's a monthly subscription service that includes the sewing lesson as well as everything that you need to make the project. So it's basically sewing made easy. So if you want to, maybe you're thinking about sustainability or stopping sort of fast fashion and being able to repair and make your own clothes, then you need sewing skills. And I find that the best way to learn a sewing skill is to actually produce something. So you're not just sewing up and down on a piece of fabric, it's actually to start making things, and that is the best way to learn. So this project, we're going to learn how to work with fleece, and those that don't know, fleece has got a stretchy side and a non-stretchy side. So if you're then working with fleece in the future and you're going to make a hoodie or something like that, you know which way to use it. And obviously with a hat, you need the stretch going across, so there's that little bit of give when you put the hat on and off. We're going to be doing zigzag today as well, which is the only stitch we need for this hat project. And it's a really simple, really satisfying sew. So let's make the project. So let's start making this project. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to measure your head, or the head of the person that you're making the hat for. Okay, so my head, if I measure it around where you want the hat to go, I think I've got quite a smallish head. So I'm 21.5. but I'm going to add an extra inch on for a little bit of leeway there. So if you do the same, measure your head and then add an inch on it. So once you've measured your head and you've got that measurement with the extra inch, lay your fabric out, and you want to do it with a stretchy side along the bottom. So you should have enough fabric here for your head measurement without having to use any of the selvage on the end. So you want to open it out and basically just measure from the edge all the way. So I'm going to do it at 22.5. You do it at whatever your head measures plus that inch, and then I want you to cut the extra off. So if you mark a point here and mark a point up at the top as well, and then draw a straight line between the two, and then you can just cut off this surplus, and then you've got the right amount of fabric for your hat. Once you've cut the width of your hat, next thing that you'll do is to be cutting the length. So the fabric that you've got is about 17 inches, around 17 inches. If you're going to make this hat for a toddler or a child, you want to chop off some of the fabric because their hat won't be as long. The length of the hat won't be as long. So for a child or a toddler, measure 13 inches and then chop off the top. Or for a baby, do it at 10 inches. Okay, so if it's for an adult, you can leave it as it is. If you want to make it for a child, 13, or a baby, 10. Okay, so make sure that you've got your fleece the right way. So if you haven't worked fleece before, one way is stretchy and one way isn't. So you want to make sure that you're folding it with the stretchy bit going this way. So you fold your fleece over so that the ends match, it's nice and flat, and then you're going to take measuring tape and some chalk or a pen, and you're going to mark, this is one of those fabric erasable pens, 2 inches from the top, from the bottom here, and we're going to pin the two sides together, or you can use clips if you've got clips. I'm going to be using these today, so make sure they're nice and lined up and clip them together, and we will then take this to the machine to sew those sides together, but we're going to stop here. We're not going to sew this bit, so we will make sure that our 2 inches are left open here. So we're going to use zigzag stitch for this, and it's on 2 and on the widest zigzag, so stitch length 2 but the widest zigzag that I've got, and remembering not to sew those 2. So just seam allowance of about 1 centimetre, and we're going to go zigzag, a few back stitches to secure it, and then just sew along that length. Now when you get to your mark, just do a few back stitches to reverse it. And then you can take your pinking shears and smarten up that edge if you wish. So when you're using your pinking scissors, your pinking shears, just tidying up this line. This is optional because this fleece doesn't fray, but when you get up to the edge of this sewing that you've done, just cut it off. There you go. That looks a little bit prettier. So the next thing that we need to do is get your ruler again, and this time where you've got your 2 inches from the bottom here, measure 2 inches on this side and draw a line straight across, and then you can either use your inches on your grid here or inches on your ruler and mark every inch. And then what you're going to do with a sharp pair of scissors is you're going to snip down to those 2 inch line. So this is for the top of the hat, so it just makes it, gives it that little bit of extra at the top of the hat. So don't go beyond the 2 inch line, and then you'll get this fringe along what will be the top of your hat. Okay, so once you've cut your fringe, it should look a bit like this. Then you want to flip it around so the fringe is at the top, and then make sure that your fleece is nice and flat. If you need to, just tidy up the bottom bit there, because we're now going to fold this edge up by about 1 inch. So I'm just going to do this by eye, making sure that your seam is lined up with that seam, and just about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. If you want it a bit bigger you can do, but I find that's really good. And then you just want to clip that in place before taking it to the sewing machine and doing zigzag stitch again, but this time along the hemline and all the way around. So you'll be stitching up that turn up. So let's go and take that to the machine. So then take it to the machine, take your accessories tray off if you can, because it's easier to sew in a circle like that. And starting at the seam, you do a few reverse stitches to secure it, and just keep guiding the fleece through as you go, and sew all the way around, all the way to the beginning. So with some of the extra fabric that you cut off to get the right width for your hat, you need to cut about 1 inch strip from that. And then the next thing you do is you've turned your hat the right way round. So that's how we finished doing the lovely hem. So turn the hat the right way round, and then we're going to gather up the hat as evenly as we can at the top, and then with this strip with a nice outside, fluffy side on the outside. Just gather it all up and tie a knot as tight as you can, nice and tight, and then do another one, and then this time we're going to pull it again as tight as we can, and this time we're going to trim it about 1 inch off both sides. Okay, and that is your hat complete. So I tend to turn mine up like that, and there you go, one stocking hat complete.